Welcome to the Basketball and Brew podcast, produced by Jude McLaren, and I'm your host, Dan Miller. We want to start tonight's episode by thanking our sponsors right here in beautiful San Marcos, starting with Pie Society, where they have excellent New York-style pizza, drinks, great happy hour, fun vibe, a great place to be in San Marcos. Also, come to Zellick's Ice House when in Central Texas. Great place to grab a brew, hang out with your friends in their outdoor patio. Fun vibes also, and just a fun time and a great happy hour at Zellick's Ice House. Tonight on Basketball and Brew, we have a guest, West Texas A&M's head coach, Tom Brown. Coach Brown has won 2 national championships as an assistant coach at Winona State in Minnesota before coming to West Texas A&M in 2014. Since that time, Coach Brown has led them to unprecedented success, including 5 straight Lone Star Tournament championships, 3 30-plus win seasons, 3 Elite Eights, 2 Final Fours, and an appearance in the national championship game. Coach Brown, thank you for coming on tonight, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, excited to be here. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And thanks for the intro. It's pretty cool. Appreciate it.
Coach, it is quite the intro, and I had to cut stuff off. When we took a deep dive into your program, just the winning it really is unprecedented. I'd like to dive right in and start with that. How do you establish such a winning culture?
It's something that, somebody's got to win, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
Why not us, I guess.
The Buffaloes.
I think you got to really surround yourself with great people. And I think that's pretty common sense. I just lost, and we were just talking about this before we went on air. I just lost an assistant coach, Quincy Henderson. And I tell you what, he's been a staple kind of in my life. And I feel like I'm losing a friend, and he's going up north to St. Cloud State, which St. Cloud State in the past has been really, really good. And They've been down a little bit, so they're gonna really turn around because Quincy is a winner.
Right.
He's won at every level: player, coach, assistant, everything. And I think he's gonna really get it going up there. But I think that's what you do too as a coach. You really surround yourself with great people. And I've got another great one in Chris Gove. And Chris and I have been together for almost 30 years as playing basketball at Winona State. And I played a little baseball there, not much. Chris was an All-American there. And then we've coached together at Winona, where we won, like you said, 2 national titles and had a 57-game winning streak, which is
it's incredible.
I think one of the greatest accomplishments. But
Yep.
There was a lot of things that go into that. We didn't play in the best league, and then we had some really, really talented players. And so you could rest some guys here and there. But 57 games in a row, that's winning a national title and then making it back to the championship game. We got beat there. Otherwise, I think we had a chance at UCLA's record.
Wow.
But we did lose that championship game, but we came back the next year and won the title again. And it was kind of a big redemption for us. But I guess, Dan, to answer your question, you got to surround yourself with great people. And
Right.
I've got some really good ones here in our administration at WT at West Texas A&M, and then great coaches around. If there's any coaches out there listening right now, applications, hopefully get them in. Our job opening should go out here in the next day or two, and I'm looking for the next Quincy Henderson,
Right.
because that guy he's meant so much to this program and so much to Winona State. And it's winning those titles that you've got to have people like that. It's definitely not just the head coach, that's for sure.
Right, Coach. And there's really something to having that trust on your staff and having Quincy. Didn't he play for you? And then you had some of these guys that they're with you. How important is that as a coaching staff?
Yeah, there's no question. Quick story with Quincy. I went to go watch him in high school, and he was out of Madison, La Follette, and just a 2.5-hour drive from Winona. But anyways, went to go watch him, and there was, he had a Division I player on his team in Jonte Flowers, who went and played football for Wisconsin. Jonte actually came and played for us then, and was, just a phenomenal player in his own right. But the younger Flowers brother, Michael, was the best, supposed to be the best of them all. And I went and watched the game, And I don't know if Jonte knows this or not, but I've told Quincy this. I go, Quincy, you're the guy that I want.
Yeah.
The other guys are really, really good. And I know we're not going to get him, but if I had my choice, you're the guy that I want. He could play. I mean, he can lock down anybody on defense. He was just a team player, glue. I mean, to me, he was awesome.
Right.
And long story short, he had a great state tournament, ended up going to Creighton for a couple years. And then in the long run, we got him back, and we got him back for 3 years. And when we had him, I think we were 105 or 106-5.
Wow.
With two national titles and a national runner-up. So, that guy was huge. And, he played a little bit overseas in Australia, and then Jonte played overseas as well. But I think to be successful at any level, you have to have good players, obviously, but then you have to have players that are going to play together. We've had some really good teams here at WT, and we've been very, very fortunate where those guys have meshed and kind of bonded and played for each other. And when you have that, you have special teams.
Right. And you guys have had some special teams coaching. We're going to talk more about them. I wanted to go to the offensive side of the ball. You guys play at a fast pace, averaging in the 80s every year, 2 years in the 90s. How much do you guys talk about pace, practice pace? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my philosophy, I love to be able to score the basketball, and defense is great, but everything progresses, and the transformation from, I'm going to date myself, the no shot clock in high school, the no 3-point line, and then it kind of coming in to its own. I remember in high school when we didn't have the 3-point line, but I was always shooting threes because my senior year we were going to have it. So you're kind of getting ready for it. Same thing with college, the 45-second shot clock. I don't know if you can remember that.
Right, I do.
That was forever. Okay, and some teams would hold it, and but then we're down to 35 and 30, and I'm guessing someday we'll be 4, and I think that's just the way it's going.
Right.
I would be okay with it. I was just over in Australia and watching some NBL games, NBL 1, some juniors, and I mean the game is global. And I saw so many good players. It's unbelievable how many good basketball players there are just everywhere. And young kids. I saw a 7th grader that was 6'11" and could play. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to write his name down because he's going to be in the NBA someday at some point in time. But anyways, our philosophy is, you got to go, and you got to be able to put pressure on the defense. You always have to be able to, at the end of the game, you got to be able to execute. And now with being able to just sit there and pound the basketball, the game is really, and it's something I really don't like it, because I like to be able to, I want to be able to get up on you and pressure you and try to get that 5 count. But now you can just sit there and dribble it. But that's different philosophies and different strategies. You got to go trap that ball now, get the ball out of the hands of that guy and make the ball move a little bit. And in the past, you could get a 5 count and try to take away other guys. And so you just have to adjust with the game. And I think with the adjustment of the shot clock going down, I think the scores go a little bit higher. And then as everybody is figuring out, and I think we've kind of lived on this too, even at Winona, is everybody's got to be able to shoot that 3.
Right.
And when we won the national title in 2008, we ran up against a guy named Garrett. He was at Augusta State. Augusta State, by the way, was just in the national championship game playing Northwest Missouri State. But they had Garrett Seiler. He was about 6'11", and he was like Shaq. I'm telling you, I've never seen a guy dunk a ball. It looked like he was just playing on a Nerf basketball hoop.
Right.
And we had an All-American in John Smith who was really, really good, 6'7", and could score on anybody inside, or he passed out, if you doubled him. But John couldn't do anything against Garrett. Nothing. Okay. And this is when the high school 3-point line was the college 3-point line. And John would shoot those threes all the time. And he was a really good shooter, believe it or not, but he didn't have to shoot it. But anyways, long story short, national championship game against Garrett Seiler, Johnny goes 4 for 4 from the 3-point line and kind of takes Garrett out of the game.
Right.
He got a little bit winded, a little bit gassed. And we were down by, I think, We were down by 15 or 16 right before halftime. Quincy makes a three to get it to 12, and we end up going on to win the national title game. Otherwise, we would have
Wow.
got beat again. But it was something that we practiced. John practiced those threes all the time, and we
Right.
do that still to this day. Is everybody is so versatile, and a lot of coaches do that now. But you have to be able to be flexible in the style, what you can do, because at the Division II level, small Division I level, you're not getting the premier guys that maybe you want to get. You're still getting guys that you want, obviously, and you better get guys that you want. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. But you have to be able to adjust your game a little bit.
Right.
The year we went to the national championship game down here at WT, we started 4 guys under 6'1". Quay Grant was 6'1". He was our 4-man. And then we had John L. Fugit, Zach Toussaint, and JoJo Murray. And those guys were phenomenal. All 4 of them were phenomenal players. And then we had Kevon Booker at about 6'5", 6'6". And he was a good shot blocker and he could do some things. But that style of basketball only got us so far. We ran into Northwest Missouri State and they kind of put the wood to us a little bit. But I give our guys a lot of credit. I don't know if we should ever got to that stage, because we didn't really have a lot of size and we didn't have that, dominant guy inside. We had dominant guards. I'm going to tell you that right now, but
Right.
when you go against a really good team, it's really tough. You got to really click on all cylinders, and we just didn't click on all cylinders in that game. But my philosophy is you got to get that ball up and down the court, probe the defense as fast as you can. If you got an open shot, that ball better be going up, and let's go attack the rebound. And let's play. That's
Right.
the way I'd want to play, and that's the way that I teach the game.
Right. And recruits are going to come play for that also, because they're going to want to play fast. They're going to want to shoot the ball,
They
and they're
love
going to
it.
attack.
They love it.
Coach.
But you still got to find the right recruits, and
Right.
every
Right.
coach says they want to play fast. Every coach, and it's
Yeah.
and then. But I mean, I see some scores in the 40s and 50s in some of these teams, and it's just like, oh my, I don't know how they do it.
Yep.
And I don't know how players would go play there.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. But
Right.
you just never know.
I agree, Coach, and I love that pace. Even I got something from Nate Oates the other day. They call it a pace scrimmage, where they do a 15-second shot clock, and you got to get a paint touch and a score in 15 seconds, full court. And we don't have a high school shot clock in Texas. That's a whole nother podcast, because we need one.
Right.
But it's coming. It's coming. But we did that. Coach, let me ask you then. So fast pace. Space, is there space spots? Are you a 4-out, a 5-out? What is because you also, I noticed, flow really good into offense in the half court if you don't get something up in your fast break.
Right. We don't have a set, hey, we got to have 2 guys in the corner, 1 down the middle and a trailer. It normally will go that way. And that's, I think, a really good flow is we get a rim guy run into the rim, and we don't care who it is. If it's our little guard, Zach Toussaint, and he's running to the rim, that's fine. If we can get him a cheap one. Otherwise, it sets up perfect, because now we got a good cutter underneath the hoop, and he can come out either side. You watch the Warriors, Golden State, and I'm not saying we're Golden State by any stretch of the imagination, but we've got some guys that can really shoot it at our level, and we'll run some screens for them. And when you have good action like that, it's going to get everybody else open. If you have that good action, but the guy can't shoot it, I mean, they're just going to chase, and they're going to be there, and you're going to get nothing out of it. You've got to have some players to put pressure on. And I think that's something that's really, really important, is if you got a guy that can command a double team, or you just cannot leave open just even for a second, that opens up the floor for everybody else. And you talk about spacing, and you talk about a lot of these things, and it's based on the players. And and when we were really good with Quay Grant and JoJo and Zach and Hayden Blankley and some of these other guys, they would have to put 2 guys on Quay and JoJo and try to keep them out of the lane. And those guys were really good guards. And so that would open up stuff for, our shooters getting good spacing. And sometimes we got a little bit tight because the defense got a little tight, and we had to remind them, we don't care if you take a step behind that 3-point line, even 2 steps behind that 3-point line. I don't care if you're open, let that thing go. and it'll spread the defense. And then we'll get to the
Right.
bucket and we'll create off of that. But no, we don't have a set formula. If we have two guys running one side on the wing, that's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to move. That's the one thing. And I was watching tape because we're still looking for players.
Right.
I'm still recruiting right now. I'm still scheduling. It's just been a crazy year. But we're still looking for players. And I'm watching some of these tapes and I'm going, God, does this guy really run the floor? Or is it something his coach is letting him get away with? Or is he just lazy? And you try to figure those things out.
Right.
And that's Dan, that's probably one of the hardest things about recruiting here is I don't get to go see a lot of games, high school games. Now, the high school basketball in our area in the Panhandle, it's going to be a lot better next year. And it was pretty good this year, but our first 7 years here, it was average to poor at best. There was a couple kids here and there,
Right.
but sometimes they were just too high of a level for us. Now, there's a bunch of D2 kids in this area. So it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun for a coach like myself. I get to go watch a lot of good games this coming year, and I'm pretty excited about that. And there's some really good coaches in the area, but it's just, it's kind of a football and baseball area, and it just you don't get the kids. You got to go to the Metroplex, San Antonio, Houston, which those towns are 6-8 hours away, and it's hard to get there. On a weeknight, obviously, you can't do it. And so the recruiting aspect is, it's the lifeblood of any college program. And it's really changing now because you're going to have a lot of turnover year to year to year.
Right.
And so you've got to really stay on top of that. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're still finishing up this year, and then we'll be looking for the following couple years. But our team is really young right now. We'll only have one senior.
I saw
next year.
Right.
And, it's
you return.
It's very challenging.
Coach, you're returning a really good team, a 29-win team with a lot of very good pieces. I want to stay on that recruiting a bit, Coach, because you're in a unique situation, not being in a metro area, being out in West Texas. How much do you recruit then off film? How often are you able to get into a metroplex of a Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio? Because I noticed you do have players from San Antonio, from Dallas.
Yeah. No question about it. I mean, it's when June 15th hits, we will be out. We'll be in the Metroplex, and we'll be at the Gassos, and even up in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Milwaukee, because we still have connections up there. And I think Coach Gove and myself, I think our names still are somewhat valid up there.
Right.
And you have to have those connections, and kids want to get away from maybe where they went to, the Midwest. They want to get out of the cold in the wintertime, come down here and, down to Texas and play in a beautiful arena. The First United Bank Center is fantastic. And that's one of the reasons I took this job was, they really care about the programs here. I mean, all of our programs at West Texas A&M are doing really well. I mean, our track team is really good. And that's a credit to our athletic director. He puts a lot into every program. It's not just, okay, basketball, you're good, we're just going to load up on you. That's not how it works. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to support those other teams. But recruiting wise, like you said, Dan, when June 15th hits to July 1st, we're out there recruiting, and it's not even – it might not even be for this year, but it might be for 2023 or 2024 to kind of get a look at the kids.
Identify.
And then we can watch some film on them and see how they progress, because we're not going to be able to get out to a lot of games. Now, on the flip side, we have some local kids. If I can, you got to corral them, you got to hope they want to stay close to home. But there's some local kids that we might be able to get in the Lubbock area and in the Amarillo area. They're close to home, and we just haven't had that. We've had some like Rylan Gerber from Dumas. Rylan was a 4-year player for us, great player, but he was not an all-conference player, but just a really good, solid player. And we've had some others too, but it's exciting when you get some that could be difference makers for you.
Right. And it sounds like in your area, it's getting better. I think if I had my phone, I don't have it right by me, Bigler's probably texting, stay out of Minnesota and taking those players. Let him have them up there. You have enough in Texas, Coach. I can see Bigler saying that.
Coach Bigler's fantastic. And if I could ever figure out his offense, it would help me out. But, I mean, he does a great job. and he's one of the good guys in Division II basketball. And there's a lot of good ones. And a lot of great coaches up in the NSIC and MIAA and all over the country. I mean, there are so many great coaches. It doesn't matter what level you're at.
Right.
Division 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I mean, I can tell you some D3 guys right now that I think are better than a lot of Division 1 guys. And it's just the way it is. It's it's finding that right fit for you as a coach. And it's a lot of fun kind of getting to know coaches over the years, but some coaches there's still some rivalries, so you don't get along with everybody. Yeah. But now that Bigler's I'm not with them. Now we're buddies, because we used to be assistant coaches against each other. And he's a good guy.
He is, Coach. Question for you about, so you guys have been on the top, obviously 5 straight tournament championships. I mean, that's really high level stuff, Coach. Can I ask, what is harder, building it to get where you get to the top, or staying on the top because you're the hunted? Like, everyone in your league is coming at you guys. Is there one harder? They both just damn tough.
Dan, I appreciate that. And they're both really tough. When I came down here, I took this job. I didn't know anybody in the state of Texas. Zero. Nobody. And I don't know if Michael, our AD, did that on purpose or what, but I didn't know anybody. So I'm trying to get my team together, and I had everybody telling me, hey, you got to do this, you got to take these, you got to get JUCOs, you got to know every JUCO coach, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of good JUCOs down here in Texas. I mean, they're really good.
They're really good.
Very, very strong.
Yep.
But it's not something that I'm real good at. And you got to go with what you're good at. And I was good at finding high school kids, maybe a transfer here or there. And so our first year, we struggled a little bit. We were 17-12, but then we started building it up. And David Chavelvic was one of the reasons. Tommy Gove, Jordan Evans. I don't know if those guys are listening or not, and there's others. Don't get me wrong, but those guys kind of stuck with us. And we won 17, then we won 21, then we won 26, then we won 32. We were seeing how long we could go with winning more games every year. We got up to 34. I think we got 2 years in a row, and then we fell back, and we went back to, I think, 32.
COVID.
And then the COVID year. But it is very tough building it up. But I'll tell you this, Dan, it's harder to stay on top because it's everybody's coming after you. Yep. We lost a starter this year, is going to transfer in league. And so that's going to really hurt us. It's going to help them. They could be one of the favorites this year. And, when teams beat you and they really, really celebrate, at that time, it really burns you a little bit.
Right.
You take one step back and you go, you know what? Hey, I appreciate that. And that means a lot, because it's, you want it that bad. And that's given us a lot of respect. But I don't like to lose too often, and it happens. We got beat this year at home. We had our point guard was out with COVID a couple games before, and he did not play well. But and we didn't. I didn't do a good job coaching. I didn't do a good job getting our guys ready, and we got beat at home because we kind of have a filthy record at home.
It's really good.
But we had a few losses this year at home, so it does happen. And there's so many good teams out there, and there's so many good players. And the game is such a short, fast game that if you're not ready, you're going to get beat by anybody.
Right, right. Yeah, Coach, having the tournament at home versus going on the road, and you've been able to win your conference tournament both at home and on the road, does that make a difference? I mean, obviously it does, but tell me about that experience.
Yeah, we got a little bit lucky with the one year that we hosted. Because we were the number 2 seed, the number 1 seed got beat. So then we got the tournament, and Andre Cook, if you're listening, thank you very much, because they were the 8 and they beat the 1.
St. Ed's.
But St. Ed's, what a job he does down there.
He does a great job.
It's a tough place to recruit, though, Austin, Texas. I mean, there's just nothing going on there.
Yeah.
It's not beautiful. No, I give him a lot of grief about that, but it's great going over the Metroplex, and we've won it in Frisco, Texas, at the Comerica Center. in LSC, our Lone Star Conference does a great job putting it on. We have good fan support because there's a lot of people in the Metroplex that come out and watch it, all the games.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
Kingsville comes up. Kingsville's been one of the better teams in our league, and
Right.
you get these teams that maybe those guys, those fans in the Metroplex don't see that often, and we usually have a pretty good following over there, and it's a lot of fun for our guys because you're playing in a big arena, and they make a big deal out of it.
Right.
It does take a lot out of you,
Yeah.
because teams are coming after you, and you play some years it's 3 games in a row, and some years you have 1 day off. It all depends. We rotate with our women,
Right.
and so it takes a lot out of you going over there and playing in those events. But I'm not going to complain. We've won 15 conference
Games
tournament games in a row, and
Wow.
we've gotten a little lucky sometimes, but I think we've been really, really good. We've had 5 different conference tournament MVPs, from Joel Murray to Julius Brown to Ryan Quaid.
Wow.
And I'm not going to get everybody, but it's really special when you have different players like that step up. And we've had some dominant players here. David Chavelvic was another one that was all tournament, and he kind of started this whole thing, and he's the all-time leading scorer in the Lone Star Conference. And when we got down here in April, nobody recruited him. They recruited him a little bit, but nobody took him. And I'd like to say thank you to the LSC coaches that didn't take him, because he was a pretty good player for us. And
right.
there was junior colleges after him after that first year, and David was pretty loyal, actually really loyal. He stayed here for 4 years and played.
Yeah.
And he played a little bit over in Australia, and just a great young man. Has got his degree, and he's kind of the true success story of a Division II basketball player. And
right.
Everybody wants to play professionally, and I know David did, and others, Jordan Evans and all these guys wanted to play, but at some point in time that's going to end, and you better have your degree, and you better move on. You can have a chance to move on and be successful in life, and that's what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's what it's about.
Absolutely, Coach. And being from the Midwest myself, I do know the NSIC more, and it may have changed. It's been a while since I looked at it, but the high school recruiting, so important. And then when I came to Texas, I would look at the Division II rosters, junior college, very, very heavy with junior college. So, I mean, I don't want to say you were a trailblazer, but the way you built your program off the high school kids, did you have in that first year people maybe in your ear say, Coach, this isn't how we do this in this league, but you had a blueprint?
Dan, you can't imagine. I mean, it's and that's where I give our athletic director a lot of credit for sticking with me. And he didn't have to stick with me very long because we got it going pretty fast. Coach. But we started out 0-3, lost to an NAI school, and we're 0-3, and we're kind of reeling, and we're kind of going, okay, where are we? What's going on? Are we going to win any games? And then I'll just give you a quick story. It's a pretty good one. We're playing a conference opponent on the road, and we're warming up, and these other guys, they got their elbow in the rim, and we've got nobody. Our biggest guy is like 6'4", and he could jump a little bit, but he was scared to play. And anyways, the coach, one of the assistant coaches, came over and told, it was either Coach Henderson or Coach Gove, and just said, hey, God, and this was a little bit into the season. He goes, you guys are doing a great job. If you guys can win, 7 or 8 games, you guys are really doing a good job this year. And it just kind of, and they told me that after the game, and I'll tell you what, that really stuck with me. And it was like,
right,
whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
And so we go on, and we're 17-12, and the next time we played those guys, we beat them at our place.
Nice.
And it was just like, that was the gas that we needed.
Yeah.
Thrown on us to motivate us even more to get us to go. And when we took the job, there was guys there was people in my ear saying, you got to take this kid. And I'm watching them going, oh my gosh, this kid's really talented. But he brought some stuff with them that I didn't want to have to deal with, and I wasn't going to deal with. And I just said, no, I'm going to take this kid over here, 3.5 GPA, might not be the most talented, but I'm going to get, and that's the one thing. When I took over, we had 3 seniors. Get this, we had 3 seniors and 1 redshirt freshman. That was my team. And I had to put a team together in April. And so we put this team together, and it was kind of a mismatch of guys, but that was probably one of the most fun years that I had coaching, probably because we didn't have to worry about playing time, because we knew that we're trying to keep these guys just fresh for the game, because the rest of the guys, we didn't have much of a bench. We only had 10 guys on our team. We had a couple guys hurt, so we're only playing 8 guys, and you really kind of had to figure that stuff out as it went through the year. So it was a lot of fun, but no, I was told, hey, you got to know every junior college coach, and you got to get junior. No, okay, and I just listen, I nod, and we'll do it my way, and we're going to win. And you do some of these civic events, and they go, Coach, what are you going to do? How are you going to compete with some of these schools? You're not going to be able to beat this school and this school. And I said, well, maybe see. If we ever get lucky, maybe we can come close and maybe split with them. And in the back of my head, I'm just going, okay, just give me a little time. And I'm not trying to be that arrogant, but I knew what I could do. Yep. I knew what Coach Gove and Coach Henderson can do. And again, losing Quincy is really going to hurt us, but still got Coach Gove, and I think he's really, really good. And we still got some really good players.
Right.
We're bringing in some talented players. I mean, we got a couple kids coming in this year I think are going to be fantastic for us. If everything aligns, I think we're going to be one of the top teams in the country again this year.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt you will, Coach. Bringing in guys, can you describe or give us some of the things you're looking for? Obviously they have to be able to shoot it. Let me, 2-part question here, Coach. What if you love the way he plays every phase, but he can't shoot it? Will you recruit some of those guys, and what do you do with them then? And then second, what are the key characteristics of players you're recruiting and want?
Yeah, Dan, those are great questions. And yes, I will take someone even if they can't shoot it, because there's been doing this a long time. There's a guy that was at UTPB just a couple years ago. He couldn't shoot very well at all and was the player of the year in our conference. And Jonte Flowers, when we took him at Winona, he couldn't shoot. I remember Don Meyer and everybody, they would just back up and they'd make him shoot. And I'm going, okay, Jonte, go ahead, shoot it. And, then he starts getting a little confidence, and now he starts really, really cooking. And, then that was motivation for him as well to really work on that 3-point shot. It was the same thing with Quincy Henderson. There was a coach in the NSIC that would back off of him and say, no, go ahead and let him shoot it. I think that's a pretty good strategy, or it can be a good strategy, because, hey, they can't stop you if you're up on them, because they're quicker and they're going to go by.
Go by him.
Quincy was knocking them down, and you got to be able to shoot that basketball. But even if you have a player that is a special player, they can't shoot it, you can still find a role for that player. And I would take that guy in a second. And we had 1 or 2 of those guys this year, but obviously you want everybody to be able to shoot the basketball. What was the second part of the question?
Just as far as just characteristics of guys, then, are you looking for shooters, toughness to meet your program? Mm-hmm.
Sure. If I'm looking for toughness, I went to recruited Zach Toussaint, because if you watched his highlight video, he's about 5'11", probably 155 pounds, soaking wet. And he really did. He muscled up this last summer. I think he got up to 158. But I wouldn't trade him for anybody. I mean, the heart, he's got everything. He's got the intangibles. And Coach Gove was really the guy that recruited him the hardest. He went and he saw him, and you got to look for things. And Zach wasn't going to back down to anybody. And he doesn't right now. He challenges everybody on this team. He does it in the right way too. He's not arrogant. He's not anything like that. He goes after you. And you got to have guys that go after each other and then are still buddies after practice, because you're not going to get any better if you don't challenge each other. And everybody knows that. But we're recruiting a kid right now, or a player, a student athlete, I should say. And he goes, Coach, I don't need to start. He goes, Coach, I can do this, I can do that. And we know who he is, and we like him. But when you hear something like that, you're trying to figure, okay, is he just saying that to try to get recruited? No, I think that's really genuine. And you gotta get down to the bottom with the recruits, and you got to be really, really honest, and you got to be very straightforward.
Yes.
Um,
Appreciate
if you
that.
just tell somebody what they want to hear, they come in, they're gone in 1 year, and it
Yep.
does nothing for your program, and it doesn't help the student athlete either. So we
Mhm.
try to be as honest as possible, and it's. I'll give you an example. Dalen Williams was a young man that went and played. He played 3 years Division I at a small Division I. He was great student, graduated engineering major, and he wanted to come and play for us. And he had a great year this year, but he's really focused, and he got a great job. I'd love to have him back, but you know what? It was his time to move on. Those are the kind of guys you want in your program. And if he moves on, he moves on. The
Right.
1 year that I had with him was fantastic.
Yep.
Same thing with Quay Grant. Quay Grant was an All-American for 3 years. He had 2 more years with us because of COVID, but he moved on. He went to Wichita State. Now he's going to go to Sam Houston State.
Mhm.
Am I mad about that? I wish I had him for those 2 years, but I am
Sure.
just really thankful I had him for those 3 years. And I think
Right.
that's the way, it's when players come in, hey, I want you for 4 years. That's the truth.
Yep.
But if I get you for 1 or 2, let's make it the best 1 or 2 years possible.
Right.
And when you leave, if you go somewhere else, God, why did I leave WT? Why did I leave West Texas A&M? That was the best
We are winning.
place I could have played, and that was such a great experience. And that's what I want our guys to. In 20 years, they're not going to remember the podcast. They're not going to remember anything, but they're going to probably remember their experience, whether they played here or at Southwest Minnesota State or wherever. Enjoy your time because it goes by really, really fast. I mean, I can't believe how old I am already. My kids growing up. I've got young kids. I got a sophomore, a junior, and a freshman. I got to think about it for a second, but I mean, it just goes by so fast.
Right.
Live it up while you can and enjoy the moment, I think, is the most important thing. And we do
Right.
that. We do that in practices. We do it in games. The one thing is, and my compliance sometimes asks me, but we never go to our max in our hours.
Right.
We get the 4 hours during the week. We never really max it out.
Wow.
in
Interesting.
the season.
Yep.
And it's just something that if guys want to go in and shoot more on their own, they will. And
Yeah.
if they don't want to, they won't. And okay, that's up to you. So you got to you better get those guys that want to be in the gym, and then you kind of foster that and you get them to be the leaders. I think that's really, really important.
Oh, that's good stuff, Coach. I love that. And it sounds like you do put an emphasis on having fun, having a great experience. Of course, winning's fun, but also just the whole experience. Coach, you have so much success. So obviously you have good practices. Can you talk about practice? Maybe even just a little bit from planning your practice. What a typical, I know it varies, but what a typical practice looks like at West Texas A&M.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I've got my practice plans from every practice, all 8 years here. I'm a pretty detailed guy, pretty organized guy. I don't always get things right. I'm going to be the first one to admit that I'm going to make mistakes. But I'll go back to a practice I did 3 years ago and just look for some things that I might have done, and we'll try to keep it fresh. But with that being said, we have our routine that we do, our stretching, and then our pre-practice routine that we do, and we are very diligent about it, and we've got to execute that. There's no mistakes. There's no drop balls. There's no bad passes down at the ankles. We've got to be sharp. And if we can't do that, then, we're going to do it more the next day, or we'll figure out how to correct those errors. And
Right.
that's not, there's no right or, for me, there's no right or wrong way to correct those errors. Some days it might be a little extra running. Some days it might be getting after the guys. Some days it might be encouraging the guys. These kids are human, and they've gone through a lot with COVID and with other things. It's not just yelling at them all the time. And that's the easy way out, I think, for a lot of coaches. And I don't want to say I'm soft. I hope I'm not soft, but we try to encourage them as much as possible. But the little things that they know that what to do, and if they're not doing it, they're thinking about their girlfriend or something else, then we're going to get after them. But if they're engaged and they're trying, hey, we're gonna encourage the heck out of them and get them to get better. But our practices are pretty detailed. Like you said, I love the 20-second shot clock. It's so easy to do. We do that actually with 10 seconds in the half court situation. And it's okay, hey, we got to go now. And so if you're switching that ball screen and now we have a mismatch, you better pinch it a little bit more and make that next rotation. Or if you're hedging it or however you're doing it, or you're trapping it, you got to mix that stuff up and you got to keep it fun. But I think with that 10-second shot clock, it really helps the guys that maybe, don't handle the ball a ton. They've got to make decisions and game time decisions. We'll do a lot of situations in practice as well, from 1 minute left in the game, 1 minute left in the first half. We'll put them all in sort of crazy situations, different situations, and we'll actually let them call their out of bounds sets when the game is on the line.
I like
and we'll
that.
do a little running for it.
Yep.
I can learn a lot from that. Hey, who's going to step up? Who's not? Who wants to step up?
Right.
Little things of who's the best at taking the ball out of bounds. I mean, we laugh about stuff like that as a coaching staff, but we don't have anybody that can take the ball out of bounds.
Right.
Or,
right.
It's just simple little things like that, because we've got some guys that are good at it, but you have Toussaint who's 5'10", take the ball out of bounds, and they put a 6'6" kid on him.
Jumbo.
He's kind of swallowed up. He doesn't have a lot of options.
Yep.
And teams will do that to you. So is he the right fit? No, not really. And so you got to try to create as many different situations as possible. And that's what we try to do here at WT. And we don't get too crazy. And then you got to scale that back as the season gets going. But in the preseason, we really try to mix it up as much as possible. And we let our guys know that.
Right.
It's not just, I think we have very good communication with them, but yet sometimes I feel we should have more communication. And, that's the old cliche. You can never have too much communication.
Right. I would love to see those practices, Coach, and I love this work you guys do with your situations. And just watching film on Synergy, you guys handle late shot clock. Not that you're in it that much, but you handle it really well. You can tell the guys know right what to go into. And then, of course, late game situations. So you're a very prepared team.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan. And that's a credit to the players. I mean, the players are the ones, and we tell them that all the time too. Is, hey guys, we're gonna get you ready, but the bottom line, who's gonna win this game is gonna be those 5 guys out on the court and the guys sitting on the bench. And it's not just the 5 guys it's not just the 5 guys on the court. Those guys on the bench, you're just as big part of the team. And it's funny, you go through Twitter and some of this stuff and you see the body language speaks volumes. I mean, it's just that's been, to me, it's come in common sense for 40 years.
Yeah.
And now a lot of this stuff is kind of just regurgitated. And my high school coach at Woodbury High School, I think, was phenomenal. Phenomenal, ahead of his time, phenomenal coach. And I feel like I learned so much from him, and even my 9th grade coach, my sophomore coach. I was very, very fortunate to have coaches like that in high school. They cared about you, but they still got after you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, they're not taking it personal. And nobody wants to lose, but they were really good coaches, and it makes a big, big difference. And I learned a lot from those guys. And my college coach was okay, but you learn maybe what not to do sometimes from some coaches and what to do from others, and then you kind of piecemeal together what you want to do as a coach, and then you run with it.
Yep. And find your style. That is wonderful when you hear that you played for. I was fortunate too to play for a great high school coach back in Wisconsin, and to this day I'm just thankful. And it probably sent me into coaching, sent me into doing this. Coach, I love what you said too about the guys on the bench. I heard Coach Miller, the ladies coach for Grand Canyon. She was talking about it, and she called it Benergy, energy from the bench. And I just love that. And you got to have that Benergy on great teams, and it's good stuff.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, it was good. Coach, I'm going to ask you a few more. This is just such good stuff. I want to keep you here for some more questions.
We do got a game on tonight. Celtics.
Yeah, I know, Coach.
Don't
I know.
tell me the score. I don't want to know. I got it.
I'm not. No, and the thing is, being from Wisconsin, I'm a Bucks fan. So once they went out, I'm not paying attention anyway. But the good thing about this podcast, people can watch it anytime.
There you go.
I do want to ask you, are you an analytics guy? Are you three-pointer or at the rim? Or do you still believe in the mid-range shot? How do you feel about that?
I still love the mid-range shot.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one of the best, I think, in our league in Julius Brown. Him
Yeah,
coming off a ball screen. I think he's shooting about 70% on that little mid-range.
it's
And it
tough.
really puts the defense in a really tough spot. If they run a little drop coverage, I mean, to me, that's like a layup almost for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, it all depends on who the guy is shooting the basketball and where you are too in the shot clock. Now, Julius can really shoot the three as well, but he's usually getting pressed up on a little bit. He's our ball handler. And so when you come off that ball screen, if we get a guy that sets a good ball screen, he's going to get a wide open look. If they're in the drop,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. Knock that
Okay.
thing down. And he's got green light and he knows it. And if he doesn't want to shoot it, he won't. He'll move it and we'll try to get something else. But um, we've got our guys that, hey, you're under 10 seconds shooter. You
Mm-hmm.
got green light, and it's so we do have roles that we have our guys in, but for the most part, if a guy is open, they're letting it go. And the follow away 15-footer in the post, or a guy with a contested pull up 15-foot. No, I don't like it at all. But
Oh, yeah.
you've got to be somewhat choosy with it, and you've got to understand what you can do and what the defense is doing. I mean, if we're playing a great defensive team and Julius has a wide open pull up 15-footer, he better be shooting the basketball.
Right.
Now, if he's got that 15-foot pull up, but you got someone else in the corner wide open three, he better be moving it, and he knows that. And that's just being a team player and being a guy that can play with your teammates. So no, I love the 15-foot pull up. I'm not against it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get me wrong, we led the country in threes for a few years there.
Yep.
Until Upper Iowa just went bonkers with their threes, and which is great. I actually will watch them on Synergy. I just love the way they play, and Brooks does a great job up there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that we want to get that quick three. But if we can go in and we can get a dunk, I'd take a dunk any day over a three.
Sure.
Things like that. But no, I have not given up at all.
Yep. And it sounds like if you have the player that likes that pull up, gets to a spot, it's a good shot. But obviously, Coach, you're shooting a lot of threes and you shoot them at good percentage. Led your league most years in three-pointers made, which is a great statistic. Can I ask, what are the threes that you like to see the most? Is it off the drive and kick? Is it in transition? Is it coming off screens, catch and shoot, or does it depend on your players?
Well, it's obviously when you're getting a kick out three, that's the best shot. And I think everybody knows that, because now the defense rotating. So now you might get that backside rebound, which, if you get the defense moving a little bit and you get that kick out three and they're chasing, now you got a better chance of getting that tip out. If you're not a big team, or you're getting that weak side rebound. Some teams don't even send a guy to the offensive boards, but we will, because we want that other team to go. And that kind of invites them a little bit. Now, we don't want to give them a 2-on-1 every time, but if they get a 3-on-2 once in a while, I'm okay with that, because we're going to chase them down and hopefully maybe they take a quick shot. Now we get to run. Yep. And that's kind of our philosophy, is we want to go up and down that basketball court. Right. But again, to be good, to win it all, you've got to be able to play in the half court, and especially at the end of the game. And that's where I think like Northwest Missouri and Ben McCollum, they do such a great job of dictating when they want to run and being able to control the offense. And, you see teams like that. That's where you want to get to. But with that said, I want to be able to go up and down the court. Right. And if we got an open look at a three, we're knocking that thing down. But Dan, I think to answer your question, what I like for a three is when I see Zach Toussaint shooting it, because every time he's shooting it, I think it's going in. Yeah. Hayden Blankley, Julius, Larry Wise. I think Larry Wise can be one of the best players in the country this next year playing for us. Wow. We really, really liked him out of high school, and he went to North Texas, and he had an injury there. Didn't work out, and we were very, very fortunate to get him. And he's going to be a special player. He was first team all conference. I think he got run down a little bit because he didn't play much the last 3 years, and we played a lot of ball games, and but yet he had 19 in the first half in our regional game that we lost. We probably should have got him the ball more. but he's such a great kid and a really, really good basketball player. I'm expecting really big things from Larry this next year, and some others too. I mean, I wish it was October right now. You're getting the
Right.
juices flowing here a little bit. It's starting
Yeah.
to go, but we've
Yep.
got a long summer yet too. So,
Yeah.
but it's
It's
gonna be a fun year. We actually open up with Northwest Missouri State down
wow.
in Florida, and then
Where?
play
Okay, I was going to
Florida,
ask where.
and then play Florida Southern right after that. Who's going to
Wow.
be a top 20 team.
Yep.
We might not. I hope we can get it done, but we might go to Hawaii as well
Okay.
and play. There's a couple really good teams out there. Central Oklahoma out of the MIAA. They're going to be loaded this next year. Coach Hoffman has got a loaded team. That's why he wants to play us so bad. If he's listening, I know what you're up to, but it's fun. You want to play those great teams because it doesn't hurt you that much if you get beat, because those guys are going to be in the national tournament, and you know how Division II is set up with the regional rankings.
Yep.
You know, if you're playing a really bad team and you get beat, that kills you. If you play a good team and get beat, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yep.
And so that's why go schedule the best competition you can find. I've been scheduling for 25 years now, and I've always done it that way. Let's go find the best. You know, it's whether you got to offer them more money or more pizzas or whatever you got to get them.
Right.
Get those good teams to come down and play, and it's you know it's a win-win.
Yep. I love that, Coach, and that's going to be a great schedule. There's so much more I want to talk to you about, Coach. But I have two questions before we go.
Sure.
The first one, just about what if there's a player, maybe in Texas, maybe outside of Texas, who wants to play for West Texas A&M, but is not in your backyard. What could that player do? What's the best way? I know it's hard because you get so many emails, many. You know, what can they do, Coach? Have their high school coach call your office? What's the best way to get a hold of your staff?
Well, that's a great question. I think that's a really important question for anybody that's, maybe a high school student, whether it's guys, girls, or whatever. But, if you just send the generic email and it says, hey, could you please take a look at this? I'm interested. That's not going to get it done. It just isn't. I get,
so many
20, 30 of those every day. And some of them I'll click on, but usually it's a 6-foot guard or 6'1" or this or that. And it's really hard to separate yourself. You need your high school coach to make a call. You need your AAU coach to call and send an email. I mean, it makes a big, big difference. And I can remember being a high school coach in Gilmanton, Wisconsin, which is just outside of Eau Claire. And we had some pretty good players, and we had kids that wanted to go play college, and it was really hard for them to get noticed. And so, I made a couple phone calls, and there's only so much you can do, but those kids that you got to get out to those AAU events, you got to get out in front of coaches, you got to get out and play, you got to get ranked in your state. But that stuff is really important. But I really do think the bottom line is, get out, maybe go to that coach's camp if you can.
Yeah.
That's huge. We just got done with camp, and I've got 3 unofficial visits that I'm setting up.
From the campers at camp there. Okay.
Yeah, we had some great kids at camp. It was it's kind of fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And we've got some young kids coming up too that are really good. So we got some great players in the area coming up. But you gotta really reach out to that coach. And if you don't get contact or get something back from them, stay persistent. Okay. And I know one player did that to me, and it was kind of like Andy Dufresne trying to get his library built, and the kid just kept emailing me.
Right.
And finally I said, I appreciate it. We're full at your position. I really enjoy your tenacity, but it's just not going to work out. And it was great. And then the kid, that was probably a little bit on me. I probably should have got back to him earlier, but I don't think every coach gets back to every player, because I get some of them that are addressed to, Lubbock Christian. Hey, Coach Duncan, and it's sent to me, and they just send a mass email. So you get a mass email, it usually is going right in the garbage.
Amen.
It's got to be pretty personalized, and then followed up with a phone call from the coach or yourself. And coaches will get back to you when you do stuff like that.
Sure.
It makes a big difference.
Sure. And you got to be pretty good too, coach, because your school and your conference is really good. It's just people do, but it's Division II basketball is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Your program's phenomenal. Last question, coach, to leave you with. If you're traveling through Canyon, Texas, where do we eat? Give me a stopping spot, coach. What's your go-to? I know you got some there, because for the listeners, what do you got for us?
Now I got to be careful because if my administration is listening, I can't say names.
Okay.
Because, but if I get in trouble, I get,
Coach, I don't want to get you in trouble. Yep.
I tell you just what I had last night, and I'll tell you, through Amarillo, 575 Pizza, and we've got some of the best pizza up in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I was kind of a pizza snob coming down here.
Same.
And I'll tell you a quick story. One of the boosters that I met down here, we have some great boosters and fans, and I just asked him, hey, you got good pizza down here? And he was so proud to say, yeah, we've got some really good pizza. We've got Domino's.
Oh boy.
And I just said, oh my gosh, what's going on? Where am I?
Yeah.
But Bob Robinson, if you're listening, or if anybody is, I love you, Bob, but Domino's to me is just not when I was 10 or 12, I thought Domino's was
going to basketball camp, getting great. Domino's, absolutely.
But you get a little bit older, maybe your taste buds change. But this 575 pizza last night was phenomenal. Wow. And it's only 4 blocks from my house, so I hope they can be a sponsor of West Texas A&M. Yeah. Let's get on board.
Yep.
I would love to do anything for you because we get a pie from there once a week.
There it is.
It is fantastic.
Well, Coach, if I'm coming through that way, I'm going to get a pie myself. And
I'll get
that
you
sounds
one.
Good. Okay.
We have some great restaurants too in Canyon, and and Joe Taco. I mean, there's just too many to list. I'll leave them out, but you guys do have it up there now as Chick-fil-A. When I came down here, and Chick-fil-A is very, very good. I know our guys might get a little sick of it because we go there quite a bit because Coach Brown likes it.
Yeah.
But you go on the road, you got to try to find different things and
right.
But anyways, Dan, I appreciate you for having me on.
Coach, thank you. And it's been a long time, since we have talked, but in person. But it was nice to see your face, and Coach, really sincerely, you have an amazing program. You do a great job, and it was an honor to have you on the podcast tonight. And I learned a lot, and I hope our listeners did too. So thanks for coming on.
You know more than I do. I tell you that, and it's a lot of fun. I appreciate you and enjoy it. Anything I do for you, just let me know. But go Buffs.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach Brown.
All right.
Okay, goodbye.
Thanks, Dan.
There's a great information tonight from Coach Brown. We would like to thank our sponsors one more time tonight. Speaking of great pizza, like Coach Brown said, we have great pizza right here in San Marcos, Pie Society. Pizza, beer, spirits, come to Pie Society. We also have great happy hours going on at Zelik's Ice House. Stop on through, get a drink, enjoy your time there. Last, I'd like to thank my producer, Jude McLaren, for making this happen. And if you enjoyed tonight's podcast, please subscribe on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That could help us out a lot. Follow us on Twitter if you watched on Twitter. We really appreciate your support. We're excited to be back next week with Stan Bonowitz, head coach of Concordia, on Monday. It's going to be a great podcast. Stan was a great player at East Central High School, and we look forward to hearing his stories from East Central, Texas Tech, and now the head coach at Concordia on Monday night. Thanks again for joining the Basketball